Good morning, Independence. It is 92 days to Super Tuesday, and this week in California is deadline week for candidates to enter most races. The deadline to get all of your paperwork and signatures turned in for the U.S. House, which I'm running for, is December 8th, which is this Friday. So today I will be going back to Contra Costa County's elections office and turning in the signatures that I collected in Contra Costa County. And then I'm also going to pick up the voter information guide worksheet for candidates to write their little statement on and see what the character limits are and the cost for all of that. And I have that drafted already, and I'll probably turn that in maybe tomorrow or the following day. And I will also go back to Alameda County, turn in the signatures that I collected here, and then officially sign the candidacy form and turn in the voter information guide worksheet for that county as well. So pretty busy week, and I just have to make sure that I cross all my T's and dot all my I's this week, make sure nothing's missing, and then we should be all good to go. And I'll also send out the weekly newsletter today. So if you haven't signed up for that, feel free to do that. The newsletter subscriber base has been increasing, just like all of the social media channels that I launched basically just a few weeks ago. So thank you for watching and subscribing and helping everything grow. Yesterday I also wrote 2 shorts, and I'm going to record those today. One of them was about the omnibus bill, which I actually talked about a lot in yesterday's shows. And then today, I'm going to talk a little bit about why 20 independents will eliminate money in politics, and that's the other short that I wrote yesterday. But I'm going to give you a little bit more long-form view as to why that is true, because I've never heard anybody bring this up and talk about money in politics like this and how to get rid of money in politics. So basically everyone is dead wrong about how to actually get rid of money in politics, because they don't understand what I'm calling the law of money in politics. We don't actually need new campaign finance laws or campaign finance limits, or even to reverse the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court that everyone said, ruined democracy because it allows corporate money to flood into political campaigns. The fastest way to get rid of money in politics is actually to elect independents to Congress. So here's why. Just pretend that you're a lobbyist for a minute. Let's say the House, the Senate, and the presidency are all controlled by one party, either the Democrats or the Republicans. If you wanted to get something passed, what would you do? You would give money to that party, and boom, it would be passed, and you're done. What if, like today, the House and the Senate and the presidency are split? Well, then what you usually do is you would give money to the majority party in either the House or the Senate, and then if you need some politicians to flip on the other side, you would give them money as well. And this is where negotiations happen. So anytime you hear negotiations in Congress, you can be assured that what they're doing is trying to get enough politicians on the other side to vote for something to get through. So that might include giving extra money to one of their big donors, might include letting them start up a new special project in their district, something that will help them consolidate more money and power for their next election. And today there are 0 independents in the US House of Representatives. Out of 435 seats, there are no independents. In the Senate, out of the 100 seats, there are 3 who claim to be independents, but they all caucus with the Democrats. One formerly ran as a Democrat for president, Bernie Sanders, and the other 2 essentially just changed from declaring a party to being an independent because they saw that politically it was most favorable for them to do that, or they would likely risk losing their seat in the next election. So imagine that we had all 435 members of the House and all 100 representatives as independents. What would happen to money in politics? Because now, if you're a lobbyist and you're trying to get something through, you can't just hand money to the majority party and they'll get your legislation through. You now can't just hand money to a party and pull a few politicians from the other side and get your legislation through. You now have 435 independents in the House, 100 independents in the Senate, and every single one of them needs to be influenced, and you have no idea how to get to them because they don't belong to this big glob of a party. So corruption becomes extremely difficult because if a lobbyist can't count on their money getting what they want, then they're not going to give it in the first place. And I don't think we need 435 independents and 100 independents in the House and the Senate. All we really need are 20 independents in the House. Because if you think about it, that's enough to completely mess up their calculus. There will no longer be a majority party ever, as long as the split is relatively close. And you're going to have 20 independents standing in the middle that are going to be dominoes that the lobbyists can't get to fall. And if a lobbyist realizes that they can't just hand money to a party and maybe a couple of politicians on the other side, they're not going to give the money in the first place, because what's the point? It's not going to help. So electing independents to Congress is the best and fastest way, without new legislation, without spending limits, and without reversing Citizens United, to eliminate money in politics. Money will drop off a cliff as soon as the special interest groups realize that it doesn't matter how much they're going to give, they still can't get their legislation through. And legislation will begin to come to the middle. It will be in the best interest of ordinary Americans, and the representatives will be more accountable to the people in their district. And instead of looking to the party leadership, they're going to start actually listening to their voters. That's what I'm trying to do here. That's why having more independents in Congress will have a much bigger impact than people think. So that's the short that I'm going to be making, and believe it or not, I'm going to explain that in 60 seconds, and that'll probably be posted sometime later this week. But that's all I have for this morning. I will likely see you today in Joe on the Go, since I will be heading back up to the Contra Costa County Elections Office. Talk to you soon. I am just leaving the Contra Costa County Elections Office here in Martinez. I turned in all of my signatures that were obtained for the Contra Costa County side of the 10th District, and they told me that I would find out by the end of the day if there were, not an adequate number of valid signatures, but I don't think that should be a problem. And I got the little booklet of information that they have here to make the candidate statement, so I've already drafted that. I'm going to come back on Wednesday morning, got an appointment for that, and I will turn in the candidate statement and a check for that, and that's all I have to do for Contra Costa County. Good evening, independents. Today was a good day. I went to the Contra Costa Elections Office and turned in all of the signatures that I collected for Contra Costa County there. They said they would likely get back to me by the end of the day if there are any problems with any of the signatures, or or there were enough invalid signatures that I was under the limit that I needed, and I haven't gotten any communications yet. So I'm going to assume that all the signatures were good. Even if that's not the case, I will be going to Alameda County's elections office tomorrow and turning in the handful of signatures that I collected here in Alameda County. And I will also be, I think, signing the final declaration of candidacy and turning in my candidate information statement that will appear in the Alameda County Voters Guide. And I should be completely done with Alameda County then. And on Wednesday morning, I will be going back to the Contra Costa County Elections Office to turn in the candidate statement there, which will go in Contra Costa County's voter information guide, and hand the check, of course. And after that, around 10 or 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, I should officially have all of the paperwork done that I need in order to be a valid candidate running in the primary election on Super Tuesday, March 5th. And I also just wanted to talk a little bit more about the law of money in politics that I brought up this morning, because I briefly mentioned it and then I described generally what it was, but I didn't sort of tie everything back together at the very end to make it really explicit what I meant. And that's just because I'm a little bit foggier in the morning than I am in the afternoon and the evenings. So I don't always talk about things the way that I want to talk about them that early in the morning. So just to be clear, the law of money in politics, which I invented, just like I invented the law of the power of people in my launch speech, which you can go and watch. But the law of money in politics says that the more independents we elect to Congress, or whatever body you're talking about, the less money there will be in politics, the lower the campaign contributions. And the reason is what I explained this morning. If you have a party that holds the power and can get legislation through, a special interest group is going to hand money to that side and they're going to get whatever through they want to get through. Done. Even if a party doesn't hold all of the power, they can still buy that party plus a few politicians from the other side and get their legislation through. As soon as you start throwing too many independents into the mix, like let's say out of the 435 seats in the House of Representatives, there were 20 independents. Right now, the split between the Republicans and the Democrats is just a couple of seats. So if you throw 20 independents in, all of a sudden, a special interest group can no longer count on giving money to either party and getting a guaranteed result, because there are a whole bunch of wild cards in the middle that they now have to spend a lot more time and money trying to lobby to get their legislation through. And the reason why this will drop the amount of money in politics very rapidly is because if a special interest group can't count on a party getting a guaranteed result for them, they're not going to give money in the first place. The less likely it is that a party can get legislation for them, can get legislation through for them, the less likely they are to give money in the first place. And I just wanted to make it explicit that this is the fastest way to drain money out of politics. The more independents we have, the less money there will be in politics. So let's make that happen. And then the final thing this evening was just another viewer submitted question, another softball question, probably intentional, but it is, what was your favorite subject in school and were you a straight A student? My favorite subject was math, and yes, I was a straight A student. I wrecked pretty much all of the curves in all of the classes, all the way, well, until I got to graduate school in Berkeley's chemistry graduate program. And then it got a little bit more challenging, and there were plenty of people there who were smarter than I was. So that is all I have for this evening. I will see you again tomorrow.